who are you and what are you going to talk about?
I'm a risk manager. That's now 15 years, mainly working on projects, a bit also sometimes on enterprise, engineering, construction. They have diversified the activity progressively, and I'm really focused on quantitative. And the presentation about is to share our last few year experience. So I'm really happy to be able to share and exchange with the risk management community today worldwide. And I will speak about our collaborative approach, how we have worked together with Safran team and with several risk managers in France. The benefits we have experienced also moving from interfaced cost and schedule model to integrated one offered by Safran, and also which also share our way forward with regard to the quantitatives. But first, let me remind what drives our projects and what quantitative risk assessment are about. So what you see on the screen is an extract from AACE. It's about the cost estimate classification system and about the accuracy range you could expect when you perform a cost estimate. And as you see, there is a convergence tunnel. So it means that the accuracy of estimates will improve over time, over the project definition. And AACE tells you that you have 80% chance that the actual cost, so the cost at completion, will fall in that tunnel that is structured around the P50. So this tunnel is made of statistical, it's made of feedback, history data. So it's very factual. So we are certain that our forecasts are uncertain. And if you really carefully review that document, you understand also that depending on the project, even if they are at the same stage, you could get a better accuracy than others. So it's important also to understand what drives accuracy, because it's also what will drive our quantitative risk model. So the first great driver of the accuracy is the repeatability. Of course, you'll get a better accuracy of any estimates on a project that, let's say, have similarity to other projects, so maybe in the same country, maybe with a similar execution plan or technology you have already mastered. Of course, it will have your exercise, your cost estimate exercise will have better accuracy than on jobs that are maybe like first of its kind projects with a high level of novelty. So that's the first differentiator. And of course, you expect a quantitative risk model to reflect that too. The other driver is related often to the effort that the team puts to have a better definition of the project, and especially in the very first stage. So the engineering effort you put, the estimating effort, if you have very detailed takeoff, if you go to the suppliers, clarify debits, exchange with potential subcontractors, of course, you gain a better accuracy. And that's probably the first risk decision on the project is the effort, the resource you will allocate to it. So always check when you do a quantitative risk model, it's very important to check that the accuracy you have on these results, and these are in lines with your historical stats, or like, for instance, this guideline of AACE. So a good quantitative risk model should be consistent. That's what we would expect. And that's the question. What is a good quantitative risk assessment model? I like a statement from George Box, which is a famous statistician, that says that all models are wrong, but some are useful. Of course, all models will have some failure in predicting what will really happen in the end. We had that experience with the COVID or the current situation. There are things that are difficult to forecast. And of course, your model won't capture for everything. So in that way, they are wrong, but some are good because they will help you to take some decision. And that's in that way that these are useful because all risk management is about decision making. And there is a video also in the Keep Learning session, which is about decision making. I've shared also to the community. So don't expect a model to be really useful if it does not capture what uncertainty is. And there is a good connection also with the previous presentation, and the one from George is what is uncertain. And so uncertainty, and I think it's quite in line with their slides, is there are two aspects of uncertainty. First, you have the noise surrounding all the assumptions that are taken in the execution plan. Around each assumption of the budget, around each assumption of the schedule. So that's the noise surrounding all your assumptions, and usually we call that sensitivity. So uncertainty with your assumptions. And another type of uncertainty might come from the risk register, things that can happen or not that will change your base plan, your base budget, your base schedule. These uncertainty often called risk events. So it's a combination of the two. So a good risk model should capture both. Another aspect is that these uncertainties, these around your assumption or this change that can happen, or they can hit your cost directly, but sometimes they can also hit the schedule because there are schedule uncertainty or schedule risk, and indirectly the cost. So this structure, this dependence between delay and cost is an essential aspect of the good quantitative risk model. A good quantitative risk model should capture that. So let's check the different methods. So I show you, I'll share a short table I use often to assess the maturity of a company in quantitative risk assessment. And it shows it's quite in line also with ACE, with different contingency recommendation methods. So the two first one are not related to simulation. The first level is there is no method. It's just you add the percentage at the end of the project cost review, and that's it. Level one is not a simulation method, but it's really valuable. ACE called this Predetermined Guidelines, and it's about of profiling your projects, record all your feedback, your statistical, your history, and build your own tunnels. And some companies have that kind of procedures, so that some contingency recommendations will be made according to a risk profile specific to a project. So the advantage is that this method is good to structure information, historical information, and help also decision making. But of course, it's not very specific, and it has maybe sometimes it can fail in assessing the specificities of the project, and that's where all you have the simulation methods. So different level, with different maturity. I think the less mature models I could sometimes see are the pure risk event model. When you have a list of risks, sometimes coming from the risk register with some probabilities and reach an impact, and these models will sum probabilistically all the risks. So these models they are simple, but are in fact quite inaccurate because they will fail in fitting the tunnel, the convergence tunnel, and they will also not capture the perimeter of the uncertainty as we just showed earlier. That's why when you reach a certain maturity, you perform quantitative risk assessment or schedule risk assessment. So sometimes standalone. Sometimes these exercises are done in tools that are different. And up to a certain level, when you reach, I think, a certain maturity, it's clear that all the schedule risk should be costed. And that's where, for years, we have interface tools, related to cost, sometimes in Excel, and tools related to schedule risk analysis to really have complete pictures. there are many ways to schedule, to interface models. Maybe I could develop that in the Q&A session. Up to very recently, and that's we have now moved to integrated models, and in fact it's quite recent in the, I think, in the history of quantitative risk assessment, and mainly thanks to the tool that has now allowed to have all the cost and the schedule in the same tool, so that really that's what we do now. And we have a short poll. I think, Mark, probably you can launch it. So the question is, what is your practice? What are the methodology you use in your company?
Yeah, I've posted the poll, Bruno. I don't think you can see it.
I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay, so basically it's asking which level people are typically at against your sort of hierarchy or maturity level. So which QRA contingency methods do you commonly apply on your projects? And the answers were, there wasn't enough for your all 6 of them. So number 1 is predetermined guidelines. Number 2, risk events, getting more mature now. Standalone QRA, quantitative risk analysis, and or schedule risk analysis. And the next maturity level up would be interfaced quantitative risk analysis and schedule risk analysis. And then right at the very top.
Yeah, I'm curious.
You know it, integrated quantitative and cost and, quantitative risk and schedule risk analysis. Okay, the numbers are coming in thick and fast. They're getting very, very fast now at learning this tool. Okay, the numbers are slowing down. I'm going to close the poll. There we go. And we have some cool. Okay, it's spread out more. Bruno, this is the answer. Only 15% of respondents said the lowest level, predetermined guidelines.
Okay.
A third of people said risk events. Yep. Another third said use standalone quantitative risk analysis or schedule risk analysis. Only 19% said interfaced, and 30% integrated quantitative cost and schedule risk analysis. I'm really pleased about that last.
So yeah, so we have asked the answers around interface and integrated, and that's clearly the most advanced technique. Level 1 is also very useful. It's not simulation, but it can also, it's very useful to benchmark the results of the simulation methods. So let me tell you now a bit our story behind that collaboration and all the work we achieved last few years. So since 2009, for about more than 10 years, I have produced interfaced quantitative risk assessment model with schedule risk analysis. So trying to interface Excel models with schedule risk tools. I've trained people, risk managers, professionals, to perform this on their own. And I've always been like also with my colleagues, we have always been, it was an evidence for us that it was mandatory to cost the schedule risk, because as a fact, it was a frequent source of contingency consumption. So it has to be founded in the contingency and analyzed specifically. So I've always worked in connection with other quantitative risk managers from other big companies in France, sharing or tools or way to work. And the question with that, because also this world is also changing fast with the technology. And I remember it was in 2016, that's where I first heard about Safran Risk, but related to the schedule risk analysis. And it was said to be better than Oracle PragmaRisk risk analysis. So I remember getting a first demonstration. It was early 2017. I had the first demo and exchanges with the team. And I remember I was amazed how fast and powerful it was on the schedule side. It was very well structured and very close from what we were doing. But at this stage, it was not enough disruptive, because it was missing all the cost aspects, all the cost module, all the things we were doing at that stage in Excel regarding the budget. At that time, Safran was only covering schedule rates. And I really enjoyed our first talks with your team. It was with, I remember, with Richard, with Fred, Glenn, soon after with Mark. And they were very open-minded, professional. And I understood that this cost module stuff, this subject was also in their mind, that there were other professionals in the world looking for that kind of things. So it was already in the roadmap. So they came in France and met other risk managers to really understand our needs. And that's how this collaborative approach has started between these different companies, in fact. So I believe to take it further individually, but also collectively. So our works of cooperation has started in 2017. We shared our models, our interface models, the one with Excel and other, and the schedule risk tools to explain the product team, Safran team, how we were working. The first beta version of the cost module came a few months later, and we had some beta tests and several iterations all along 2018. And in the end of 2018, we had our, let's say, the first MVP, the first minimum viable product. Means the first time we could really use formally the tool on real projects, and some POC, some POC, proof of concept, has also started at the time in some French companies. So and today, so a few years after, the tool now is widely used in this company. It has been also the main tool I use for project quantitative risk assessment. I think the success of this is a very close collaboration between the users, the risk manager, and the technical team. I can share that 80% of the list of requirements have been implemented in the tool. And we have that relationship still today. Like I can also tell you, I made some comments in December and other in March. So my last few months comments, they have all been delivered in last week release. So this closed loop, I think, makes the success. So we have regular exchanges on the roadmap. I will also talk a bit about it. But what I would like is to share what are the benefits we have experienced moving from interfaced cost and schedule models to integrated. And this feedback is coming from Technique, from Total, and so I made a summary. So the first great benefit is on the modeling aspect. Moving, from interface to integrated, is that we have saved a significant time on modeling aspects. It was clearly longer to model everything in Excel. For each job, we had to do many formulas for any inputs, for any outputs. And now that the tool we have has allowed to, in fact, focus, the modeling now is really rapid, and we can save that time. We can invest that time on working on the inputs or working on the analysis. So that's the first clear positive benefit. And we also have less modeling error. I think that's also connected to Excel. We had huge formulas, and sometimes there were mistakes. So it has improved. Having a dedicated tool has improved the quality of our model. Another aspect is the experience. So it's about the risk manager experience, but it's also the project team experience. The project managers, the schedule engineers that can work with us as risk manager, or the cost estimator or the cost control lead. Moving from Excel to a very nice user-friendly tool that is very robust and stable has allowed us to use the tool in workshops to make live quantitative risk modeling, but also use the tool in formal presentation to boards So not before we were using maybe PowerPoint. And here you can use that tool to also compare decisions that the board can take. So it has increased, it has improved the communication and facilitating the information sharing. Other aspect of improvement, moving from interface to integrated model, is since you have all the cost and the schedule in the same tool, you have that function that you can connect time-dependent cost to individual schedule task or summary task. So it means that your costing of the schedule risk is clearly more accurate than any other methods we had implemented while we were doing interface model. And also the fact having everything together in the same tool, and it really facilitates the iteration, because you can upload a new schedule and all the mapping with the cost and the risk is preserved. So that was really a pain updating interface model when you had some changes on the schedule, on the cost. So now it's easy. You can really iterate more frequently, and it's good because that's the purpose also of risk management to be there to support decision and to be it's a continuous approach. Last point about the benefits is, I think here, and I really want to thank the technical team for the support they provide to us, and it's coming from all the risk manager. We have the team is really reactive, really engaged, listening. So that has really changed our way to work, because we know that we are supported, and also we appreciate having a forum, a community forum, when we can share ideas and also the ideas for the roadmap with other risk manager. So I think the combination of the two has generated a circular value chain from year to year, and I think we see that in the way that the product is evaluating. I've shared all the benefits we have experienced last few years. We wanted also to share with the other manager the benefits we would like to experience in the coming years. So we are really happy. We have a very performant tool, but of course there are always things we'd like to improve. One chapter is about the reporting. There are a lot still things we do manually, building tables of results or copy and pasting graph. So all these subjects are discussed with the team. So I know they won't be surprised, and I'm sure that some of them, these points will be also shared by Chris. I think it's on Thursday with the product roadmap. So the reporting, module is something we are looking really soon. We have one point about liquid damage for delay. So it's the costing of being delayed. You have some cost penalties. So that's something we had on all the projects. Sometimes with your supplier, sometimes the subcontractor. So sometimes they are applied to you. So that's something that is very common. But the way to calculate it globally is very similar. But on each contract, you have the parameter might change. So we are able to calculate that in Safran today using formulas. And what we would like is to have a specific module to really ease that and avoid using the specific formulas we have to redo for each project. Third point is about the schedule, the critical path module. So we have a critical path analyzer. And I think here I'm going to make the connection with presentation you'll have on Thursday by Santosh, my friend Santosh. It's called Beyond the P dates. And of course, you cannot trust P dates in the schedule risk analysis if you don't understand fully how the critical path of a project might be affected by risk and uncertainties. And we have that module, the critical path analyzer, that help us to check that how the determined schedule is moving, is responding to stress. So So this is a masterpiece of the current tool, and I think we believe that a V2 would be very useful also to improve the visualization and the ability to export. Last point is the correlation.
Bruno, well, before you go to the last point, I have a question from the audience, and it's a timely one because you were just talking about critical paths within Safran Risk Manager. The question from the audience is about the scheduling tool being used. He asks, because there is a scheduling engine within Safran Risk, what do you think are the pros and cons of using that as your main scheduling tool rather than something like P6? What are your thoughts on that?
So I know, in fact, Safran Risk, and that's also a differentiator with other products on the market. It's true that it has a full embed scheduling engine, which is Safran Project, which is another tool that is widely used in many countries in northern Europe. So many companies have chosen to Safran Project to be their main scheduling tool. So I often work with companies working with P6. And there is a great compatibility with the tool. So sometimes I get some MS projects. So I'm a risk manager, so I'm not a schedule engineer. I've never built schedule on my own. I always perform in analyzing them. But yeah, I know that we have all capabilities to even create a schedule from scratch in Safran Risk, since it has Safran Project embed.
Okay. Thanks, Bruno. Carry on.
So the last point was the correlations, which are very important in any risk model. And so here this point is not only for Safran Risk, but you could have that point to any other software currently on the market. All these correlations are currently addressed through complicated matrices that are a bit difficult to fill, sometimes explain, update. And if we would like in the coming years to move to maybe something more graphical, that's also maybe with diagrams. That's something also we discussed with the team. But on these 4 points, the main one is the first one. We would like to get ASAP. So that's our vision of the benefits we have experienced and the one we are looking for. So if you have any question, I don't know if you have a few minutes left. I'd be happy to.
We do. We have 2 minutes left, and in terms of questions, okay. Well, we actually have exactly the same question as asked before, but I will ask it for you anyway. It's your opinion, please, on the benefits or otherwise of using a rolled up summary schedule to do schedule risk analysis, or the detailed one.
I got. Yeah, it's a very controversial subject, and depending on the person you ask and their experience, it can vary. So I think the objectives are a bit different. If you are just looking to capture the cost risk, you can work with a very summary level. If the objective is to improve the schedule, I think I prefer work with the detailed schedule. So 10 years ago, it was just there was no possibility to work with real schedule because the tools were not there. It was too long. So now we have that possibility with to work with real details. I've worked recently with a 40,000 task schedule, and here the purpose is different. You are really stressing the deterministic schedule to help the schedule team to deliver the best schedule as possible, and it's more streamlined to work with their schedule than ask them to generate another schedule. So, so it depends, but I've experienced both. Depends on the context.
All right, I'm going to squeeze one more question in. It's about frequency. What are your thoughts on when and how often we should iterate a cost and schedule risk analysis?
I say quarterly, 2-3 months. I think that's on the project that is close, is already running, or it will be close to. I think that's a good frequency. if it's you wait too long, it has to be close from decision. So maybe that one answer could be the frequency. Another one has to be updated. It has to be useful upfront, the big decision. So if there is a decision to invest, okay, it's good to update upfront. If you have to make a choice between, I don't know, two technologies, okay, that's probably where you need the risk analysis. That it has to light and help people to do decision, to take the decision. So yes, so there are two ways to answer, but I think the decision making is probably the most important.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, we're exactly at the end of the session. So thank you so much, Bruno. And I like the fact that you're able to kind of weave in some of your experiences with two really big customers. So thank you, Bruno.